welcome to the Clear Tai Chi Mastermind Group meeting on Friday. Today is Friday, July the 23rd, 2021. Today's topic is Chi Gung Healing, and the kind of Chi Gung Healing that we have is referred to as Fa-Gung, and we'll be talking about that. And before we begin that, today I'm Richard Clear, your resident host. This is Matt Holker. Hi, everybody. The regional organizer for Maryville, Tennessee, outside of Knoxville. With us today is Harry Legg in Verona, New Jersey.
Hello there, Seafood. Thank you.
Mark Mashad in Michigan.
Hi, it's the Midwest Michigan area covering Grand Rapids and Lansing.
Welcome. And Sheila Bell in Costa Rica.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm here in Guanacaste, and I give classes in Laveria and Playas del Coco and Playa Panama.
Welcome. Philip Chan in Columbus, Georgia.
Hello.
Hello. And Jim Kelly and Jim, take yourself off mute. Jim Kelly in Boca Raton, and he'll tell you whatever other areas down there in Southern Florida.
Honored to be invited. We're in between Fort Lauderdale Airport and West Palm Beach Airport. Come down and visit.
Cool. Nice to be there in February. Yeah. All right. So we have a package and a workshop, both that are for the Fa-Gung, for the Chi Gung Healing. And that's at www.clearchihealing.com. And it's basically 4 approximately 3-hour workshops. And the first one is mostly the Qigong you do for yourself. And then the second one is more like Qigong you do to do the healing work. And then 3 and 4 is how to do that healing work and how to feel about this is without touching the person you're at the distance of somewhere between 1 inch and about 6 inches away from the surface of their body, working primarily in the Wei Qi field. And it's how to feel things there, to interpret and know what those things actually are, and then to do corrective actions and facilitating actions for the person's Qi energy field that then manifest into the rest of the body. And again, we've got a video package for that, which is at clearchihealing.com. And there's also a workshop. That workshop usually runs the last weekend in April. As long as it's not Easter, and the weekend before Thanksgiving, and it's a 3-day weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And people a lot of times will buy the videos, work with the videos, come to the workshop, or come to the workshop, get the videos, go home and practice, and then come back to the workshop again. That kind of a thing. And the more times you kind of work it, at least for a good while, the more you get an energy boost and better working capability with the material. And we're going to talk about what that material is today and give you some real idea for it so that you know what this Qigong Healing Fa-Gung is about, like that. And ideally, we'll get into some of the kind of success stories and things that we've had with it, so that you can avail yourself of that knowledge and work from there. All right. So what is Fa-Gung? What Fa-Gung is? Right. And it's Qigong. Qigong is Qi, loosely, broadly defined, is energy of all kinds, including radiation, sunlight, water, oxygen, food nutrients, genetics. Qi, in that general term, is energy of all kinds, as defined by scientists and by other folks too. Okay. So Kung is work. So Qi Kung, energy, work. There's Ni Gung, and there's a fair amount of Ni Gung involved in this kind of training. And Ni, or Noi, I don't pronounce it very well, is internal. And so Ni Gung, Noi Gung is internal work. Fa Gung. A lot of people, especially in the Tai Chi, they've seen people go, this is Fa, and they see the other person pop, where it has an explosive quality. And so for a long time, Fa was typically translated as explosive work, or explode, if it's Fa Gung, or Fa Chi. Hey, Ty, this is Ty Talbert, he is in Colton, California area. Hi, Ty. Anyway, so Fa has other connotations, and explosion is more like an effect. And so a better translation of Fa is emission. And an explosion is a fast emission. And so emission, so Fa Gong is emission or emitting work. The Fa Gong is similar to Shaolin medical Qigong. The difference is that the Shaolin medical Qigong has been very codified and taught in the acupuncture schools. And the Fa Gong is more what you see in the Chinese medicine families and in the internal arts, Tai Chi, Bagua, Xingyi, and related, and other Qigong, where the family has it. Usually their healing method is a type or a variation of Fa Gong. And they're very, very similar, but there are nuances and differences and different qualities and different kinds. One of the bigger differences with the Shaolin medical Qigong is that it tends to be very acupuncture point based, and the Fa Gong tends to be much more focused on the energy, although there are types of Fa Gong where they're very, again, acupuncture point based. And the Shaolin medical Qigong does a bit of Fa Gong. But there is Fa Gong where it's working on one of the energy systems specifically, and you learn how to feel that energy system, how to interpret things going on in that energy system, and then to work and or rearrange or to remove problems or to clear blocks, these kinds of things. And then depending on how and what you're giving effect. The one thing I like about the Fa Gong is that there's different things that you use for power source, and the Fa Gong is using heaven and earth energy mixed into you so that you get this yin yang Tai Chi quality of energy going on that is from non-ending source that you're plugged into. And I find that a lot of times the Shaolin medical Qigong works on what I'll call a personal battery method, where you have to build up the energy yourself through the Qigong. You build up this battery, then you use it when you do the work, and then you have to charge up the battery again. And most people, at least in the United States, who learn this method in acupuncture school, they get out of acupuncture school, they start training and doing that method. And most of the people that I've talked to over 35 years now, since I started talking to people about this, have had to stop doing the method because they end up not doing enough of their own Qigong and they get sick. And then they have to stop because you can't do the work when that's what's going on. With the Fa Gong, you plug in, and yes, you do some work that's auxiliary and extra, but every time you're doing the Fa Gong or the Chi Gung healing work, you're getting a lot healthier too as you do the work. So if you were doing Fa Gong, this kind, all day, you wouldn't have to do extra Chi Gung for the most part. What you're doing while you're doing the healing that is moving that energy in the way that it is through you, with them, through them, from them, removing the blockages and whatnot, it's actually powering you up and improving your health and your energetic state while you're facilitating healing processes for the other person. So, like that. With this, you feel the energy, you move the energy or adjust it, you balance that energy, you fortify and enhance their energy field. And this is for a direct impact on their health and healing, like that. And part of what gets said about Fa Gong, since you're working on the energy field, is that one of the common sayings for it that I found amongst practitioners is that as it is without, so it is within. In other words, if I'm feeling it out here in the field, it is an effect from what's inside the body. And when you make the adjustment out here, that same adjustment is happening inside of you. Now, because you're adjusting at the energy level, if it's a very physical thing, there might be there's commonly a lag time from the time you've made the adjustment out here before it takes place in there. But if it's really energetic, a blockage, let's say it's tension in a muscle that's kind of tense, and so there's not good energy flow through, and you felt the tension here in the field, you remove that, you'll feel the physical pretty quickly will also resolve away. It won't be like you got to wait till tomorrow or something. You'll notice a fairly immediate effect. this is not for bone setting. Bone setting is what you want to do for bone setting. In the West, that means you go to the emergency room, and doctors that do that. In the China, they have bone setters, and if it's the bone sticking out or there's bone problem, like that, the bone setter is who you're going to go see to do that. For the Fa Gong, my primary teacher specialized in cancer, and I studied from the head of Guolin Qigong. Her name was Yu Bong Yi, and Guolin Qigong specializes in cancer. So I got a fairly good hookup on that, and that is part of the course, is how to work on folks who have cancer and to really get some profound effect in helping for healing and facilitating the healing processes for that stuff. And there is video out there of like 3 doctors of the method working on somebody in real time who has like bladder cancer, and they're making the cancer go into remission on the screen within, I want to tell you that the one's like 15 minutes. It might be faster than that, but it's pretty quick. But it is 3 doctors fully up, top of the food chain in terms of skill, working on the person at the same time, with obviously full understanding of the Fa Gong method. So, so I'm going to see, is there anything anybody wanted to add or say or talk about with it right there? And then we can go on to other aspects of this. Is there anything you want to add at this point?
I will add that the best way to get started doing this is whatever way is like most accessible to you right now. You're going to want to put in time and practice. Once you learn the Qigong and the Fa Gong healing method, and like the Qigong that kind of leads up to that, you're going to want to put in a little time and training into that. Whatever the easiest, best way is to get started like right away is the better way for you to do that. And so if you're serious about Fa Gong healing and or energy healing in general, and you want to add Fa Gong to whatever you do, you're probably going to want to take the workshop, and the videos are going to be helpful. It really just depends on the timing of when you're listening to this and when the workshop is. So like you said, we do them twice a year. There's always workshops kind of right around the corner because of that. And so do make whatever plans you're going to make to get there. But if it's not, if it's sort of like right after one of them has happened and it's going to be another 6 months before the workshop is coming up, don't wait. Go ahead and check out the online program or the DVDs as you like, because all the material from the weekend is actually on the DVDs. It's really helpful to do the workshop and to do it kind of all at once and get into practice and be with people who have a lot of experience with it, and the expert here, Richard, you can see on clear. But the best way to get started is to actually start. So we have multiple ways for you to do that. Like I said, the online and the DVD programs, or the workshop, depending on the timing of it. But you can check out either one. I think you can check them both out at clearchihealing.com. Is that right? clearchihealing.com.
Yeah. I'm not sure if the workshop is on there or not. I know the video package is on there.
Okay.
If I can add something, before we begin, I just wanted to say that, again, as one of the people that was an external person, the first time I attended the Fa Gong seminar, I was a skeptic, and, all the information, made my head almost explode. I guess it's been about 3 years now since then, and I've attended the Fa Gong, I believe, an additional 2 or 3 times, and each time it's amazing. I walk away with more and more knowledge and a bit more skill, and it's gotten to the point now where I can, as Sifu had said, I can feel the different types of ailment. I can feel the different types of energies associated with different illnesses or problems. specifically, these people with migraine headaches. It's amazing to work on them and to feel the amount of heat that comes from someone with a migraine. And just the different knee injuries. I
So
have.
let me ask you this. Normally, when you're feeling somebody with a migraine, you're feeling it as heat.
What's that, sir?
Normally, when you feel somebody who has a migraine, you feel it as heat.
Yes. Yeah, and a
How-
very
Yeah, go ahead.
intense, targeted like a heat. Yeah, but
Targeted like in a specific area or just all around their head?
no, a specific area.
Where at typically, or is it different from person to person?
Yeah, I've seen it mostly in like the frontal lobes. I noticed it, but
Okay. Yeah.
but it's it has been very interesting, and I was prior to this I was able to work on like simple pulls or muscle muscle ailments through physical touching, and I was amazed to see that you can do the same just through the energy manipulation.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. Sure. When you feel that directed heat, would you say it feels dry? Does it feel like it's pushing or pulling?
It reminds me most of like if you've ever held your hand in front of a heat lamp.
Oh yeah.
That
Like frying your hand. Okay.
Yes.
Like drying, and
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yep. And how easy is it? Is it easy enough to pull and to do the things that we do that adjust the energy to make it go away? Is it fairly easy, or would you say it's a bit tougher than other things?
I have had, like I said, a little bit more success with that type, with the pulling. And every time I get together with you guys, I know I learn a little bit more. I think the last time we mentioned about pulling through the back of the head, even though it is in the front,
Mm-hmm.
the where you feel it the most.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the pulling of the energy or the heat seems to be where I've had the most success.
So you're feeling the heat up front. When you feel that back part, what do you feel? I know what I believe I would be feeling there, but are you scanning the back and getting something different?
No, scanning the front, feeling the heat, and then trying to pull it through the back. I think
Yeah.
is
So
what
when you scan the back to see what you're feeling back there when they've got this, do you feel anything there, or you don't feel anything?
I want to say almost like a voidish, like a void or an empty.
Yeah.
I don't feel the heat per
Yeah.
se. So.
Yeah. So it's the tension. The tension is so shut off that it feels like they're like that voidish feel that you're talking about.
Yes.
So then you pulled it from the back, and then you were able to remove it pretty well.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah. All right. Good. Cool. The acupuncture without needles is something that people typically heard of, and that's more like acupressure. And then, of course, this is like acupuncture in a certain way, but without having to physically touch them. You learn a sensation like the one we were just talking about, and every time you feel it, again, you'll know what it is. So like if you felt like a migraine like this, the way he's talking about, you're scanning somebody and you start to feel that kind of a heat up around their head, and it really is the same, then you'll know, okay, this is a migraine. And then your sensitivity gets better and better, so that they're talking about things that what might be a migraine coming on, and you start feeling it, and then you may feel it in a different place because it won't have risen all the way up the back and around yet. And so you'll find that heat's at a different spot. You still pull from the back like you're talking about and manipulate it down, ideally towards source of it in the spine. And and I'm not being very specific here on purpose. Anyways, and then you get better and better at being able to get it before it becomes full on, and being able to help give the person some things to do so that ideally they are not getting migraines, and that you're mitigating before it turns on all the way. Anyways, So you learn a sensation, and every time you feel it again, you know what it is. The most common one that most people walking around have some of somewhere on their body, if they're over the age of 30, is some arthritis. And so you learn how to feel that, and it feels like a sandpapery, scratchy feel. And once you, like when people feel it the first time, a lot of times it's like, oh, that's really odd, that's interesting, that's unusual. You feel it 3, 4, 5 more times, 6 more times, somewhere up in, before you hit the number 10, and it becomes, you feel it on somebody else. Okay, that's arthritis. I know, because it feels just like the arthritis I just, I felt the other time. And then you get very, very good at being able to work that specific one. Each kind of malady or injury has a different energy resonance to it, a feel. And we regularly and consistently blind test stuff where it's like, I don't have the person tell me anything's wrong with them, scan them from head to toe, find stuff, make the notes, and then ask them, okay, what's with your right arm, or with your elbow, or with your whatever it is. And a lot of times you get good at being able to tell the difference between an old injury that's healed up and something that is current. Arthritis that's really active versus something that's just typical wear and tear kind of, that most people have. And you get really good at being able to differentiate even within the same kind of a problem. And then better and better at moving it, manipulating it, facilitating the healing process around it, in it, through it. Because you know what it is by the feel, and you know how to manipulate it from there to get that. So, and the bigger trick to it, the thing that's really the most useful, is making sure that your energy is resonance is good and on and up high and those kinds of things. And then being able to feel when you're scanning, and how to scan, and really that sensitivity to feeling the other person, what's going on and what's not going on, and how it's going on, and those kind of things. And one of the things that you'll see in all of our programs, that sensitivity like that, that's the most common thread from internal push hands and the Fa Gong and the other aspects of Tai Chi that we're doing as well. Because if you're doing regular Tai Chi, a lot of time that sensitivity is in yourself and inside. In push hands, you're feeling inside more the other person, but inside them. And then in the Fa Gong, it's that sensitivity, and it's out on that Wei Qi field. And then there's other fields there that you can also get information from, and other parts of your body that you can get the information with. Both your normal, what you think of if you picture something in your head, or you think about doing something, so that part, also in your gut, also in your emotional center, and being able to feel things those ways, and perceive from there, and then what kind of information comes along with that, and then how to act on that information. And depending on what you're doing, healing or martial. In this case, we're talking about healing, but all right. Any other thoughts regarding any of that? I'm trying not to just yak your ear off, but.
Just personally, I find that the Fa Gong method really bridges that gap really well for me, in terms of the sensitivity to the energy directly. When you're getting the Fa Gong method, when you're using the Fa Gong method and you're getting results with it, you are feeling, manipulating energy of another person with your energy directly without contact. And so then when you go to try to manipulate or attach to or somehow use someone else's energy in your push hands, it's that much easier to distinguish whether you're really energy connected and whether you're really in their energy field the right way or not, because you know what the energy really feels like. It's an important piece of the kind of the bigger picture of the Tai Chi puzzle, that is definitely not to be overlooked. Even if you want your Tai Chi for other reasons and you're not wanting to like go hang up a shingle and become a healer, it's still a very valuable skill set for yourself.
Something I wanted to add was that it's very important to go ahead and be at the seminars for one reason only. If you don't look at any of the other reasons, is that the energy is amplified when you have so many people together who understand about energy work, and it makes it easier for a beginner to feel what's going on. The last time you were here in California, we had a couple who had done Reiki up to the master's level. And the husband said he had never actually felt the energy. And when he came to the seminar, worked with us, he was in tears because he said, I've been trying to get this feeling to be able to feel this energy for 5 years. And he finally got it. And what I found is that, yes, when there's so many people together, the energy isn't amplified like, well, there's 2 people there. No, it's more like there's 3 people there. And so when you have, I try to explain that to people here, they're talking about, well, can he come out for just 4 people to take the course? I'm like, no, for beginners, we need to have a room of people. We need 8 to 10 people to amp up that energy.
Yeah. Yep.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Traditional Chinese medicine strongly focuses on manipulating qi. Some healers use pressure points and massage techniques. Some use needles, acupuncture. Others use herbs, herbology. In Clear Tai Chi, we seek to feel and manipulate the qi directly, both in ourselves and in others. The Clear Chi Healing program is a must-watch course for all energy healers and aspiring energy healers. You get all the training to build and circulate qi in yourself, plus everything you need to feel and manipulate qi for healing others. This is a no-touch, direct qi healing method. The skills you get from this program will also greatly improve the results of your daily Tai Chi practice. The full course is available now at clearchihealing.com. That's clearchihealing.com.
So let me add a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm cutting
No,
in on
go
your
ahead.
time.
You're good?
No.
So a couple of very interesting things is that, and I teach Reiki, so what you're saying has a real relevance. And one of the things is that, as I understand it, as you develop your skills in the Fa Kung, you really develop the skills what people in other disciplines would call the skills of a medical intuitive.
Sure. Yeah.
Which you're able to make diagnoses in terms of organs and to some degree in terms of the disorder based on energy, either feeling it or seeing it or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. And there's certainly some Reiki people that can do it, but normally they would have developed that skill from other disciplines rather than directly from Reiki.
Okay.
The other thing is that when you talk about a Reiki master who didn't feel the energy, that's not crazy, because I started teaching Reiki in 1990 and I didn't start feeling Tai Chi. I mean, I didn't start feeling energy from other people until much later. And you can use Reiki, and you can be effective treating other people, and you can be effective teaching Reiki and giving people the ability to use it without feeling a whole lot. And interestingly, so I was reasonably successful as an instructor and also as a practitioner, and I didn't feel a whole lot. And then actually it was practicing Tai Chi that I felt the energy for the first time. And that was like a real aha. So anyway, so for me, Tai Chi and Reiki have been pretty closely connected. But what you described is not crazy, and I don't know the other guy, but it's very possible he was really a very effective Reiki master, even though he didn't feel a lot.
And
But
we have
certainly,
a number of people come through the Fa Kung program who were Reiki masters before they came to the Fa Kung, and almost all of them have the same experience, which is some of them may have even been able to feel energy beforehand, but when they get the Fa Kung method, it is so much clearer, and it puts the pieces together, and it's stronger and more, and the results so much more immediate. The diagnosis so much more accurate. that it just changes the game for them. And we've pretty universally had this experience. I've not talked to anybody who, told me I was already a Reiki master and like this didn't do anything different for me. They all, share the same feedback, which is like, wow, this is so awesome. This is so.
Yeah, so there's the whole emphasis on Ting is a real big thing. And it's in Reiki, but it's just not emphasized to the degree. And it's not developed to the same degree.
Well, I like what you're saying about the medical intuitive, because what happens is if your sensitivity is not there, then you're projecting or trying to get the energy to do things, but you can't really tell exactly if it is, other than the feedback directly from the other person. And so it's easy in my mind, it's very easy for that to be pretty inexact. As you get better and better and better at perceiving that energy, interpreting it and feeling it and sensing it, and through the whole person from head to toe and what's around the immediate energy field around them, and better and better and better and better. What I found is that when I'm having a really extra good day, I don't have to do any, I can just either see it or feel it. And because I can see it and feel it at a level, I want it to move, and it just moves. I don't even have to really work at it. It's more like if you just see it doing things, it starts doing those things. Now that's not every day by a shot, where it's that easy. It's as easy as whatever, but it's not greatly harder than that. It's just at that level, it's because the sensitivity that day, for whatever reason, is so jacked up, and with the sensitivity being that high, it's really easy to get fairly profound result without hardly any effort. And so that sensitivity to me becomes like the most important kind of thing, because if the sensitivity is high enough, the rest of it's fake.
I thought I would add in here, since this is the topic, that I also had studied a different healing method before I came to the Fakong, which was my first in-person workshop with you, Sifu. So it will always be, very memorable for me, coming and meeting several of you guys, actually. So I had studied some yoga, probably about 20 years worth of yoga, and I took the pranic healing method, which I was successful in helping people with. And I did feel some energy, but nothing compared to what I feel now. And some of that, like Phil was saying, is because I've practiced a lot more Tai Chi. So I think that you really do need all the different components of the Clear Tai Chi program, to really augment and really take advantage of all the other parts. They all come in together. But some of the main differences there are the perception, and not only a diagnosis, which is rather intuitive, but also the treatment. We have many different methods that we use within Fakong, and you are guided through your intuition and through the type of energy that you're feeling as to how to go about removing it. And so that has been amazing to me, because the previous method was very much a prescription. They would tell you exactly what to do, in which order, and how to do it, with which colors and what kind of gems and which kind of direction, counterclockwise and clockwise. And it was very involved. Yeah. And they just told us flat out, you need to have the book in your hand while you're doing this, because there's a lot of steps and and I was just like, okay, it's a lot. Whereas when I'm doing the Fakong, I'm feeling a lot more sure of myself, and there's a lot more, I would say power. I'm not sure power is quite the right word, but it's very effective. It's very effective, and I have no doubt about what I'm doing.
Part of that is that the basic method has, it's the same 12 steps, regardless of what you're doing, and you memorize the 12 steps, and they're not hard that way. And it sounds like 12 would be a lot, but really that is broken down into every little bitty piece. And when you're actually doing it, it feels like you're doing like 2 or 3 things total. Once you memorize the list or just go by the list enough times. And then the basic method is the same process every time. And then when it graduates to other kinds of things, it's because you've actually grown, you've grown in your ability with it, that it's like, oh, well, that would be the smarter thing to do with this, as opposed to, and it becomes very intuitive that way. Once you've got the basics, really, once you own the basics, then the next steps become very logically obvious to a certain degree. And there is training for it, but it's just, yeah, of course I would do that with that. It's not like it's taking you off into, we'll do this thing and then this other thing, and then you're like, where you're kind of going, I don't understand why that's working, but okay. It's not confusing like that. There's a very logical progression happening there in terms of working with the energy that way to then get result in the person. So yeah.
I'd like to just jump in for a second, because the word intuition has been bandied about a lot, and it's not that word has some context to it that are not really accurate with the Fa Gong method. Because what ends up happening is not that you like somehow you feel something and somehow like it dawns on you what that means. That's not it at all. It's much more like a seasoned car mechanic who has heard so many engines come in and then gone under the hood and worked on them and seen what was wrong, that now all he has to do is hear the engine come in and he knows what's wrong, because he's seen it so many times before that it's just clear as a bell. It's just, he just knows. But it's not because there's some magical intuition that was like granted him, or that he's somehow like seeking some spirit guidance or something. It's just he's had enough feedback that he knows what that sounds like now. And in the Fa Gong method works the same way. Once you feel things enough times and you talk to enough people about what's going on with them, you get to distinguish what those feelings are and what that means. And then you can operate with that knowledge in a different way. And then it graduates, from there. But it is, intuition isn't quite right. It looks like what you would think of as an intuitive healer, but your experience of it is not intuitive at all. It's just, well, that's what's going on. I know it is, because I can feel it. Anyway.
Cool.
Oh, I would like to add something. You inspired me. I looked at Harry and I said, what an inspiration. So one of the things is with COVID rearing up and people being more isolated, the opportunities to practice Fa Gong in many circumstances are not as easy as they were before, because we don't spend as much time with other people. But at some point in time, it's possible to do Fa Gong remotely across different cities and in different parts of the country. And so
I teach a couple in the 3-day course, and then it's on the video and that kind of thing for doing long distance. And then once COVID hit, I took the senior ones of our group here and taught you guys a bit about doing it over Zoom. And Harry's doing it over Zoom fairly regularly. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it was a game changer, through COVID. And not only Fa Gong, which was one of the most amazing things that we could do for it. And the story that I'll tell later on, the most successful situation I had with it will be a remote situation. But we could also practice, you might be interested to know that we could also practice other Tai Chi body qualities and energies, like the root drop game that we play, sending waves into each other, spirals, things of that sort can be done as well remotely. So.
My daughter Carly, who's 11, she took the Fa Gong the last time we did it for the 3-day course, and she was actually able to do some by looking at the person as opposed to having to extend her hand out. And since she had that kind of ability for her first time through, and she's done other energy work with me longer term, but she just hadn't had the course. And so since she did that, I brought her a couple of weeks later, 3 weeks later, and did a Zoom call with Harry and had Harry and her do it back and forth over Zoom. So that way he could talk her through, I was here coaching her, he was there talking to her and doing it for her to do it over Zoom. And her ability of doing it over Zoom was like, she actually started working with the energy here beside me where Matt's sitting down at now. And Harry and I both could see the energy of Harry's energy that that she was working on in the room when she was working. And I'm talking about visually see it. It was extremely impressive.
Yeah. And I'll bring up something that's kind of next to what somebody else said earlier. I think it was Matt, that taking the Fagung workshops over and over and over actually is very, very helpful, because the first time you take it, you get it.
Blow your hair.
You know, yeah.
A little bit.
But then, yeah, sometimes, just to be really honest, sometimes you'll leave going, okay, I can do this, but you're not super sure of yourself because you've got to go practice it. And you take it again and again and again. So my progression was, I think it was around my fourth time that I took it. I could actually see the energy as I was manipulating it. And then it was around the eighth time that if somebody had a malady, I could just look at it and I could go, whoa. And I would walk up to them and whisper to them, because I didn't want to interfere with their partner who was working on them, who may not have been at that skill level. And I just say, hey, you have a digestive issue going on? Yes, how'd you know? Cool, because then I could see it and didn't have to just scan it. So there's a jump in level. And then when you're working e-skill, mind skills, you get to the point where you can see that energy and then you can manipulate it with your mind. And so, and it keeps growing. And then it leapt, thanks to you, Sifu, leapt to being able to do it long distance, which is just phenomenal thing to be able to do for people. So a quick story, fighting workshop back in March. And after 5 days of going at it, one of my knees wasn't exactly terribly happy. So we're all out to dinner that night. And I warned him ahead of time. One of my other instructors here, Paul, who's had Sifu Clear's training, is all part of Clear Tai Chi, is very good at the remote long distance stuff. So I just text him, hey, Paul, my left knee's not very happy right now. I'm sitting down at dinner and I'm sitting there eating the Thai food with everyone, and I feel him pulling the pain out of my knee. And I'm just, laughing, and I have to share it with everyone at the table. And Sifu says, hey, I took a shot to my rib. Have him work on that too. So really kind of neat where this goes. And I know it can sound wackadoodle to people, but when you take it step by step by step, it does make sense.
So let me just mention something else in the context of remote healing. So one of the things that is sort of a little bit of a detour in Reiki is what I call Star Trek Reiki, where it's very similar to what you're talking about here. Is you don't send the energy to the other person, you bring the other person's energy to you, and then you work on it in your room. Okay, so it's a little different. It's very cool. But one of the things is that what's very nice about that is, even compared to working with someone physically in the room, is that you can put the person in whatever position and make him whatever size is most convenient to you.
Okay.
So if you want him to be laying down, you can. If you want him to stand up, if he's a real tall guy and you can't reach his head, you just shrink him down so he's now like 4 feet high instead of 6'6", and then it's easy to work on his head. So it just gives some flexibility, and actually it's a way that you can actually work on someone in the same room. Like if you're in a hospital bed, if you're in a hospital and the bed's in some corner and there's a bunch of machines and you want it to be 6 inches away from someone's head, it would be hard. You'd be in a very awkward position. So you can move his energy body away from his physical body, bring it into the room, and make him whatever position and whatever size is most convenient. And then you don't have to twist your back in order to work on him.
Well, that's what we were doing with Carly, but it hadn't occurred to me for her to manipulate the size, because when she was working on Harry there, it was pretty much Harry's out, like we could see Harry's outline and the energy in the room. And so I'll let her know that, hey, you could adjust his size a little bit in your mind and still work on him. And that would since she's so, she's 5 foot tall, 5 foot maybe. But anyways, yeah, that would be interesting.
I've done that to a certain extent also if I want to work on myself. Let's say if I have back pain, for example, then I can just picture myself in front of me as if I were like a doll here and work on myself in front of me,
That's one
which sounds awkward, but it's actually much easier to do it that way.
Well, and it occurs to me, I've done the almost the opposite of that to a certain extent as well. When I'm really trying to hone in on a specific thing or a certain energy signature, I can kind of blow it up and look at that piece as though it were huge and get the feel for what that is, and then shrink it back down and see all the spots where that might be or where that's going on. And they kind of scream out that way. I've done that once particularly to really good effect, which is the story I'll share later.
Yeah. I tend to bring something in and magnify it really big for the area that it is, because it lets you get so specific about the work. Yeah, cool. So Fa Gong ties into the rest of clear Tai Chi with that Ting, that sensitivity is what Ting is, required. And Ting is required if you're going to reach high levels in Tai Chi. You have to have strong, really good quality, high good quality Ting. It's just a requirement. And so this really helps to get that going, just like the push hands does a different aspect, right? And then also the Fa Gong, the healing ourselves and helping others, that part of the Tai Chi. For the Fa Gong and the internal push hands, it's the Fa Gong out on the surface of the body, and then with the internal push hands, really being able to feel inside the body so that you begin to get a better sense of the inside and the outside and get the full scope like that. The other one is for Jin, Jin, typically being the spelling these days, energy quality. Jin is like using your mind, your mind intent, actually, to manipulate the energy into a shape, a form, or an expression. And so that Jin energy quality, both externally, physically, and then internally from the surface to the inside your bone marrow, and then being able to actually connect to and influence the energy of others, both for the healing thing we're talking about, and then ultimately at the high level also for self-defense, which hopefully you won't have to use, but at least it's there if you need it. And it starts off where people on the self-defense side, where they're not going to be able to do it that well, and I certainly wouldn't rely on it. And eventually at the higher level, it's just part of your fighting arsenal, and it can be done to great effect, towards profound effect. But it becomes that over time. And then obviously you're trying not to do that. We want to do the healing thing more, but if you had serious need for it, then the martial is there too. All right. Again, if you're interested in the Fa Gong healing energy package, that is at www.clearchihealing.com, and the workshop either will be listed there or somehow we'll make sure there's a link there towards that if there's not one already. So by the time you see this, there'll be one there. All right. Fa Gong is one of the requirements to be a regional organizer. And the reasons why are that sensitivity. The Ting is the thing. If your Ting is high, most of the rest of the program is easy. We do Tai Chi healing as well as martial, like I was talking about. The Fa Gong helps to jumpstart that there really is something to the internal and that Chi is real. Since we blind test it, and we blind test it a lot. You're not asking the person anything, scan. Oh, I'm getting a signal. Okay, what are you getting? I'm getting heat, or I'm getting vibration, or I'm getting a point, or I'm getting, it feels thick and heavy, or it feels, and scrunching my hand, or whatever the feeling is. And there's a lot of different sensations. And then somebody else comes along, one of the other instructors, and feels, oh yeah, right there. It's right there like that. And you didn't tell them before. The one I like to do, he's working on a body. He goes and gets one of the instructors and goes over, I found something on him. Okay, don't tell me where it's at. Oh, it's right here. And it feels like this. And they describe what he felt because they're feeling it too. And if we bring in another instructor, blind again, same thing. Well, everybody found the same thing in the same place, feeling it the same way. Whatever, and including things that are fairly towards the small side of like where most people would not, where just standing there looking at them normally, you would never perceive that there was an issue there. And so it really lets us do that. And then when you're moving it out, the person is being done with, depending on what it is, but let's say it's something that is really aggravating to them, they can feel you moving it out. And so all of that. And it gets pretty profound in terms of the level of things that you can tell them about what that thing is, including this was an injury. The injury happened like this. And really describing things to them about it where they're like, yeah, that's what happened. How do you know that? Because it can feel it. That's why.
I have a personal favorite story about that I might share later. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so it really, the Fagung, it helps to jumpstart that there really is something to the internal. So if you've had trouble with the internal before now, Fagung is a really good way to cross that, like we've talked about some of the call already, to cross that and solve that and figure out, okay, there really is something here that Chi, whatever Chi is, right? The energy, that there's a reality to that and you can perceive it. Because the idea that energy is real, hopefully that's not, people go, Chi is not real. Well, maybe it's because they're trying to define Chi as something specific, or they think of Chi as something specific. And so it's this general kind of a term, like energy is a term. They go, is energy real? Well, of course energy is real. Everything that exists is made out of energy. That's not hard. It's more like, can you feel it? Can you manipulate it? Is it really doing something with it, going to cause positive effects in specific kinds of ways that a person is trying to do on purpose? And the answer to all that is yes, but there's training involved and sensitivity involved in being able to do that. And so it helps to solve those issues about the internal and Chi being real and how you can work with it and perceive it and those kind of things.
There's a bunch of feedback built just directly into the method and into the practice of it and into the logic of the kind of the sequence that Si Clear was talking about earlier, the 12 steps of the method that really become kind of like 2, 3, or 4 things. Maybe once you've done it a few times,
it becomes one thing because it's the same steps. And so if I said step 1 was hold your hand up, step 2 is turn your hand to the side, step 3 is pull the door open, then at some point you just go pull the door open. And it's one step for you, even though really 3 things happen anyways.
Well, because of the logic of the sequence of those things and the talking to the people that you're scanning, and that you're scanning them first and then describing what you feel and getting feedback from them, it's built into the method itself that you're getting feedback about these systems, and it becomes just impossible to ignore it. Like it is a thing. You will feel it. You are feeling it. There is a reality there, and the method will prove that to you if you do it enough. The workshop, the 3-day workshop, is a really intense, feedback heavy, all at once kind of a way of kickstarting those abilities and jumping them up for you. Even if you have some to begin with, it'll really kind of explode your ability with it because it's so intense and there's so much feedback just built into it. And like Ty was saying, the extra kind of energy in the room from so many people doing it and working with energy and all that, it makes it that much more palpable and that much easier to feel. But even if you can't make it to a workshop, or there's one that's like 5 months away and you want to get in some practice before then, just practicing the method once you know it and you practice it enough and you talk to enough of the people that you're working on about what you're feeling and what they're experiencing, it will start to connect up the way that Secret Clear is talking about, where it just becomes apparent that it's real. You are really feeling it. You are really manipulating it. It is having results for the people that you're working on, and it just becomes something that you can't ignore, and you go from there. You no longer have to prove that to yourself, and that alone is just a huge hurdle for a lot of people to get over. It's very, very valuable. high five.
So Matt, I'd like to amplify that. And maybe it's just so obvious that it's not worth mentioning, but I'm going to mention it anyway. So just as there are people that are effective doing Reiki, but they don't feel energy the way that it's described, and they think there's something missing, and there is. There are a lot of people that do Tai Chi that hear about energy, and it's a concept that they talk about all the time, but it is not something they feel as warmth or tingling or pressure or flow. And so I would imagine there's a segment of the Tai Chi population, the Tai Chi for health population, that hear about energy all the time but have never felt it. And the Falcon workshop actually could be the place where all that connects.
Yeah, for a lot of people, it is. For a lot of people, that is the workshop that connects the dots for them. A number of our students have come to us through that workshop, and it's been like, this is what I've been looking for years. And there are certainly other paths to it, but that's one of the reasons why the Fogong is emphasized so heavily and why it is a requirement for our regional organizers, that it really does connect those dots in a very specific kind of way, where as long as you have that method, we know certain other things about your Tai Chi skill and what you're going to be able to do with it. Yeah.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Traditional Chinese medicine strongly focuses on manipulating qi. Some healers use pressure points and massage techniques. Some use needles, acupuncture. Others use herbs, herbology. In Clear Tai Chi, we seek to feel and manipulate the qi directly, both in ourselves and in others. The Clear Chi Healing program is a must-watch course for all energy healers and aspiring energy healers. You get all the training to build and circulate qi in yourself, plus everything you need to feel and manipulate qi for healing others. This is a no-touch, direct qi healing method. The skills you get from this program will also greatly improve the results of your daily Tai Chi practice. The full course is available now at clearchihealing.com. That's clearchihealing.com.